Hello and welcome to Talkin Jake. Myself, Jake Storielli, producer BBD. The New York Yankees and Los Angeles Dodgers are facing off in the World Series. Oh, mama! This is the big one. Pretty damn cool. We will get into that. Let's put bow ties on both series while teeing up a World Series that we will remember for a long time for a lot of different reasons, and we'll get into some of that. We'll finish up with a little NFL football. Fun weekend. The good matchups came to play. But, man, it is baseball season. Although no games. 4 days? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah. So that it is what it is. But we'll get through Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. MLB dodges the NFL by playing Friday and Saturday. Remember that. Let's get into it. Let's start with the more recent thing. The Dodgers close out the Mets. Their lineup goes bananas. In the 4 games they win, they score 8 or more runs. Even in one of the losses, they put up a 6 spot there. But the Dodgers have shown their full display of what they can do. It's up and down the lineup. Tommy Edman, the trade deadline addition. He wins NLCS MVP on a team of stars. Michael Kopech, who they picked up in the same 3-way trade, he opens up that game. It's a big trade deadline postseason so far, and I love it. That's supposed to be the point. Add to your team. Those guys make an impact. GMs can feel good about themselves. The Dodgers just outgunned them at a certain point. Trev noted on today's Talking Baseball, the runners in scoring position was a big thing. I think it finishes in the games the Mets lost, including this final game. They were 2 for 9 with runners in scoring, or in this final game, they were 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. I believe in the games they lost, those are their only 2 hits with runners in scoring position. Dodgers, they had a ton of opportunities, 5 for 17 in this game. And it's just a lineup of, okay, Shohei Ohtani, yeah. Led the National League in home runs. He can pitch. People forget that. Mookie Betts was in line to win the MVP this year, playing shortstop. He got banged up, had a couple massive games in this series. Teoscar Hernandez has 2 hits in this final one. He's had a couple good days at the office. Edman wins MVP, sure. Max Muncy sets the record for most consecutive times on base. Kike Hernandez, legendary postseason player of sorts. Andy Pages had a 2-homer game a couple games ago in a loss. Will Smith gets a homer in this one after having a tough series. Will Smith, the catcher, hitting 8th. And they had Chris Taylor at second base today with Gavin Lux and Freddie Freeman out of the lineup. The Dodgers can maul. They've shown that this postseason after showing in the Padres series that they set the record for most consecutive innings scoreless. A lot of that comes from their bullpen, although there's also a very good Jack Flaherty and Yamamoto starts in there. But the Dodgers are an absolute wagon. Their bullpen formula, it feels like they're a step ahead of the game. And maybe that could be wrong. Like if Daniel Hudson gave up a grand slam to Winker, I wouldn't be saying that. Instead, he gets Winker to pop out to left. But, you know, we saw them punt game 2, and we were kind of hypercritical of that. We were like, damn, we really punting postseason games? And Dave Roberts talked about it. And he said, you know, that hurts me. Like, I'm a competitor. We're all competitors, but these are our tools in the toolkit. So in that, what ended up being a Game 2 9-0 loss, I believe. 7-3. They won Game 1 9-0. Sean Manaea was good in that start. Sean Manaea was not good in this start. And was that the Dodgers seeing him twice? Was that fatigue? Was it a little bit of luck? He's got 2 outs in a couple of these innings, and he can't get out of it. I think the better team won this series. Both 1 seeds are going to the World Series. I know that doesn't feel like a good thing if your team's not a 1 seed, and I'm sitting here with a Derek Jeter height chart behind me. That I obviously have some bias there, but, there had been a lot of conversations. We've done it here. We've done it everywhere, changing the playoff format. Are these wild card teams benefiting if they come out of the wild card because their rotation doesn't get hurt that much and they're still fresh from playing ball? The 2 ones come out. They're the United States 1A, 1B city, New York and LA. And I guess to finish with the Mets, another New York team. Hey, they got outgunned by the end of this, but they were good, man. They were relentless till the very end. 2 outs in the 9th, they were still trying to rally, and they would have needed more standout performances, if you will, from either their rotation or 1 or 2 more guys in the lineup. And they couldn't get that. And even if they did, I mean, look at 10 in that last game from the Dodgers lineup. 6 in the game before that they lose 12-6, that the Dodgers were putting pressure on a lot throughout that game. 10-2, 8-0. I mean, the Dodgers wins this postseason. Outside of that first Padres game that was 7-5, they've been such dominant wins. It's been 8-0 over the Padres, 2-0 over the Padres, 9-0 over the Mets, 8-0 over the Mets, 10-2 over the Mets, 10-5. So what the Dodgers have in their toolkit is a historic lineup. I do mean that. I mean the NL MVP and home run champ, followed up by Mookie Betts, who, reminder, was going to win MVP. Freddie, Muncy, I did all this. They got options. They got a couple guys they could sub in if they need to. The rotation will be interesting. Jack Flaherty gave them a big start. Yamamoto gave them a big start. Can these guys, what innings can they get out of these guys productively? And I do think when you start looking towards the World Series, this isn't a shots fired at Dodgers or Mets. This series wasn't electric. For all the walk-offs and comebacks and big games we've had early on in this playoffs, these games were a lot of blowouts. So that's the only, if I had to be slightly critical of, the Dodgers saving their bullpen in that second game and how they had to navigate things. Well, the tools that, and Dave Roberts phrased it well. He was like, these are the pieces we have. And on any given year, it changes. If this was peak Yamamoto, peak Flaherty, and peak Buehler, then there would be less of that. Because for potentially 6 out of the 7 games, they would have a top flight starter in their prime that you're like, I think we could get 7 out of them. That's not what they have right now. The pitching toolkit he has right now is Anthony Banda as his one nasty lefty. We'll see if Vesia could come back. They were talking about that on the broadcast. I don't know yet. Blake Trinan is on, they kept saying video game mode on the broadcast. And if you have played any MLB The Show, Trinan is peak of his powers. It just his general look right now looks like he's summoned all of the 90s relievers with his goatee and his husky dog eyes. He's scary out there, and it is a slider that, go look at the Mets' 8th inning at bats. They're not even close to touching the ball. Some of the slow-mo replays are almost unbelievable. So they have that man that they've used as a 2-man weapon. They can obviously use him as a 1-man weapon, but in their winning formulas to get through games, they almost need 2 out of him. Kopech is kind of their fireman. Go get the top of the lineup in one of these turns. And he's done a good job of doing that. Phillips survives yesterday after a sloppy start to his inning. We see Daniel Hudson back, who he pitched games 1 and game 6, nothing in between. Had some shoulder stuff going on there. 37 years old. Who knows what that's about. Ryan Brazier is kind of their other higher leverage guy, although he gets got again. And they're usually looking for a missing inning from a Ben Kasparius or Honeywell or whoever it is. They have the arm talent. It's just a little bit more of a modern-day juggle, if you will. For the Mets, it's sad. It's hurt. I get it. I was seeing our guy Jolly Olive's tweets, and I was sad for him. Also fearful to potentially feeling that way in 2 weeks. But this Mets team really came together from the, 0-5 start to start the year. Grimace times, LOL Mets. Is this Alonso's last season? No Senga really at all. One start during the year, leaves with injury. He fights back in this postseason. 34 bullets in this game. You got to respect that. Man, it came together by the end. Quintana, how he finished. Luis Severino gives them a season. Sean Manaea takes a leap as a player. I forget if I said Peterson, but he really came into his own. That I don't know. I know Mets fans knew during this ride that they were going to look upon this fondly, and they have been, what their lineup turned into. And, hopefully Francisco Alvarez feeling what playoffs feel like, where he was down in the dumps and couldn't do anything, into that final game, he was one of their hottest hitters, scariest guys to see at the plate. This was a really fun crew. The Alonso story is going to be one of the big ones of this offseason. Lindor reminding people that he's a bona fide star in this league. And hopefully the Vientos breakout is real. It's always tough with young guys in baseball that sometimes we see these breakout gangbuster seasons and then they come back to earth a little bit, whether that's the scouting report being out on them, injury, changing positions, whatever it could be. I don't know. For whatever reason, Mark Vientos doesn't feel that way. The at-bats are just impressive. There's some, I don't want to say unnatural power because of baseball's history, but more power than you'd expect from his swing. The Mets have something to build upon here. They have a lot of money coming off the books. That Mets team should be excited for the different feel that is now with them. And God, they're going to be all in on Soto, and that's going to be horrifying. And I'll be honest, there's a little bit of New York relief, and this is out of the Joe's McFly school of fear. But God, if the Yankees played the Mets and the Mets won, that's potentially forever. I know there was a Subway Series in 2000, but Joe's was saying how he's said some things to Mets fans that he can't take back. And if they were to win a Subway Series, that's it. Joe's was like, my whole life would change. And then imagine if they beat the Yankees and Juan Soto was a free agent. Luckily none of my business, but
even if that happened, Yankees still re-sign Soto and win 3 World Series in a row. There's no way we walk away from that series being happy to be there. And there's going to be no positive outlook on lose the World Series to the Mets.
Sports change.
Even as not a Mets hater.
Sports change. The Lions look like a wagon right now. And they were one of the biggest jokes in sports for a bit. Golden State Warriors were a joke of a franchise. Now they're like the class. So, let's... Hopefully it's a fun offseason for Mets fans. They've got a lot of youth coming on the way, too. Drew Gilbert, Ronnie Mauricio, Luis Angel Acuna, along with whatever splashes they're going to make this offseason. It's fun to build on. They'll be sad for now, and that's okay. That's okay. Which tees up the Yankees and the Dodgers. If you haven't tuned in to any of our Talkin Yank stuff, the Yankees took down the Guardians in 5. The final 3 games were electric. Add this to the reliever case study of the postseason of using your guys and having them be seen and making sure the same people don't see them and how fresh are they. Because, man, as both of these bullpens came into the game, both offenses got hungrier, which was not the case with the Dodgers. With the Dodgers, when their bullpen came in, it was like, oh, shoot. Same with even their Padres series, the series before that. In this Guardians-Yankees one, it did not feel that way. It was like, hey, if we get our paws on you, that's fine. You might get through the first time. You might even get through the second time, but I can't tell you you're going to get us through 3. That Guardians bullpen that had been so amazing throughout the year, essentially everyone down there got at different points. Gaddis twice, Clase twice, or once?
I think twice,
yeah.
Yeah.
Cade Smith got once. Heron does not. Oh, man, this isn't rude. This is just a sad note and a true thing. I use Fangraphs a lot to look at rosters. I've shared that, and if you enjoy baseball, I recommend you do. It lays out the lineup, the rotation, the bullpen. You know, they've had everything laid out playoff-wise. Like, if you look at the Dodgers right now, it's a 3-man rotation, deeper bullpen, etc. They reset Cleveland, and it's like they're 5 starters now. And so it's just like it's a slightly sad note. The other thing is the Guardians, who were the final small market team remaining, the guys that beat them on the New York Yankees are big ticket players. It was Stanton a lot. He wins CS MVP. Judge had the coolest home run of the series. It ends up being in a game the Guardians come back and win. Juan Soto ends up having kind of the game-clinching home run, and that's part of this reliever case study that we're all figuring out on the fly. You know, being a good reliever, I think good hitting beats good pitching, and with where we're at in baseball. And go check out that Soto at bat. He fouled off balls against Gaddis until he got one he could handle. 3-run homer to dead center, and it's what currently scares me the most about the Dodgers is how good their lineup is. Let me finish off a little more before pivoting there. Jose Ramirez was more or less held under wraps, which I don't know. He was the guy they were prepped for, and they didn't let him beat him. They threw up the 4s when they had to, which is ironic in the last game, where they probably should have intentionally walked Stanton with Jazz Chisholm on deck, having a tough series following another tough series. Stanton essentially baits him, swings at the first 2 pitches out of the zone. It's 0-2. 3 balls, Bybee hangs one in there. So, like, the guys that ended up beating the Guardians, and depending where your point of view is coming from, they're the guys that are supposed to. They're the guys that we want to look at lineups when we do our team profile and projections and say, like, well, that's why they're going to be good. They have those guys that I think this reliever thing, as we figure it out, and they're still super prevalent in playoff baseball, more and more prevalent. I think we're getting back to like, yo, you need innings and you need to cover these relievers, which I agree in. But a lot of it's matchups, like whether you're doing, you know, you go across sport and it's NBA, you know, oh, shoot, they don't have someone to guard that guy, or they don't have a big man. Oklahoma City last year. That's why they were so excited to get Hartenstein. They got killed in rebounds. Remember when the T-Wolves looked like the best team that ever played basketball? And everyone was like, oh, my God. Like, wait, is this it? Like, are the T-Wolves, is Anthony Edwards the next Jordan, and the T-Wolves are redefining basketball because they dominated the Nuggets, who were the favorite? A couple weeks later, they were out. That I think, yes, if you see a reliever more times, you're going to hit them more. And whether that's individual players or teams, yep. There's a juggling that is an art form that still needs to be figured out, that the Dodgers may have something there, and they talked about that. And I think through the first 3 games, none of the same Mets players had seen the same bullpen guy. So did that leave them more flexibility as the series went on? And it's just, I think you got to be smart about it, which, okay, thanks, Jake. Real insightful. But, know who's seen Tanner Scott a lot? Shohei. And it didn't matter. Like, Tanner Scott mowed Shohei down because he's a tough matchup for him from his angle and the pitches he throws. Like, Exhibit A. If you're a lefty that really struggles with changeups, Tommy Kahnle's going to be a tough matchup for you, even if you see him a couple times. That I think we still need to find a better way to use that information and data and line it up properly. And I think that's where the Dodgers are in an interesting position, because right now it does have to be Treinen at the end. He's just that good. But targeting the different lanes, okay, Kopech, in games 1 through 3, that Soto, Judge, Stanton lane, they get you once. And then over the next 3, they get you once. If we need that, whether that's a first inning opener, whether that's a 7th inning, whatever it is, that's going to be part of the chess match there. Guardians, we'll see you next year. There's a lot of young guys on that team. You'd love a little more beef. They're going to need a guy like Manzardo to take a huge step. Lane Thomas will be a nice ad for them. Guy racks up WAR, good righty pop.
Started slow for them, but they felt his presence down the stretch of the season.
Sure did. And then in the playoffs there, and who knows? We know the Guardians formula. They're going to roll out some young talent. Some guys will take the next step. Some guys will take a step back. It was crazy that they ended up without starting pitching, because it's not so long ago that it was like the Guardians just pump out young starting pitching. And we will see that. Next year, will a Gavin Williams or Joey Cantillo be an all-star? Like, could. Tristan Sticks McKenzie, our guy, like, he was on top of the pitching world, and he took a step back. Does he bounce back? You like to bet on talent. Good run from the Guardians. They were a solid team built on a bullpen. And then the other young, interesting thing that I don't know what to do with yet is, the Cleveland used their bullpen a lot during the year. Like, that's how they won a lot of ball games. And what is the recipe for keeping guys fresh down there come October? Is there something we haven't thought about? Is it giving guys different breaks during the season? Is it better to be an old 32-year-old veteran that's gone through that's been 5 years as a major league reliever, so your body is just used to it? Is it better to be Cade Smith and be 25 and young? Because I'll tell you what, the olds would probably say, I'll take being young, and the youngs would probably say, I'll take being old. So, like, we still don't know a lot about this. That bullpen should be back in a big way, although those numbers are going to be tough to replicate. Just final quick regular season ERAs again. 0.61 from Class A, 1.91 from Cade Smith, 1.57 from Gaddis, 1.92 from Heron, 1.93 from Eli Morgan. So that is just tough to replicate. But we will see. We will see them next year. They will be a strong team. And can they become something that makes them a little more feared than other AL Central teams? But we have time to talk about that, because it's Yankees, Dodgers, and yeah, I mean, we're going to be talking about this on Wednesday too. Let's be honest, like it's baseball Super Bowl week, and normally one that kind of gets scoffed at. No shots fired at D-backs Rangers, but this is the big one. This is international. Shohei, Yamamoto, Yankees, Dodgers, the two biggest cities. We did a whole Wake and Jake episode about that. The Dodgers lineup scares me. the Yankees bullpen was starting to get super exposed. Man, they when you use your guys how the Yankees do, Luke Weaver, potential 2-inning or 1.2 inning close guy. If he throws 25 to 30 bullets, any major league pitcher at this time of year is not going to be the same guy the next day. We talk a lot about stress pitches, like when we've done all the arm stuff this year. Playoff stress pitches is a tick up. So 25 playoff pitches, the equivalent to 35 during the season. Nobody knows. But there's something there. And the way that their circle of trust right now, we have the lead in a 1-run game. It's Luke Weaver for 2, and Yankee fans honestly feel good about that. But you can only do that 2 games in a 7-game set, and you got to win 4, and you kind of need him for the final out. So that's something to watch. Clay Holmes has been really good. They were throwing him out there essentially every day. Tommy Kahnle has been clean this postseason. So, between those 3 guys, it's like, all right, and a lot of those guys can go 1.1, 1.2. You can get 5 innings, and these guys can bring you home. And a special shout out to Tim Hill, who, guess what tape he's watching this week? Tim Hill versus Ohtani. I think you're going to see that match up a lot, and we'll see how Freddie Freeman's ankle is doing.
Yeah.
But the Guardians, man, they were on the Yankees relievers by game 4 of the series. And again, maybe that ties into the Yankees not being in blowout games and still using their good relievers, that if one of these games does get lopsided, you'll see the Yankees do that. Trev was being critical of the Dodgers doing that in game 2, and it was also, that's what the game called for. In a long series where they're going to be leaning on their bullpen, that the Yankees haven't fully seen themselves in that position yet they found themselves in game 4 and 5 of the championship series. Mark Leiter, who was not on the roster, replaced Ian Hamilton because he got hurt covering first. Mark Leiter Jr. pitched in, I think it was both 8th innings of games 4 and 5 that the Yankees won. Jake Cousins, who was really good for the Yankees and has a chance to thrive in this series. He is disgusting, especially versus righties. He has back-to-back 27-29 pitch outings. And if he had come in healthy down the finish line, he would have been a circle of trust guy. So that's a guy you got to have circled. And Tim Hill pitched in every game, the sidewinding lefty. The Dodgers, big lefties, he's going to be involved. But this Yankees bullpen by games 3, 4, and 5 had been seen. And the Dodgers, you can't really say that with their good pen. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that was navigating the lanes properly. I don't fully, it could have been luck. It could have been one swing away and we'd be saying, overexposed.
Because everybody but Banda's righty, so I guess it wasn't about finding this righty lane, this lefty lane, so you could just be like, don't show them anybody twice. I don't know if they'll be able to I don't know if they're going to bring in a lefty and that'll change things with Vesia potentially back or what, or how they'll navigate that. I guess it'd be the same. It just worked.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way they are currently viewing it is, the core of the lineup, which for the Yankees, for the Mets was Lindor, Vientos, Alonso.
I think Nimmo was next and Alonso.
Yeah,
but
that was kind of their heart of the lineup. For the Yankees, it's going to be Glaber, Soto, Judge, Stanton. They've had the luxury, because what I said before was, Blake Trinan is their end-of-game guy. If it's the end of game, it's Trinan. They've had the luxury of being able to juggle where they are at in the lineup, or it's not a close game, let's not do this. let's see what they get out of their starting pitching staff. We've seen Jack Flaherty, my guy. We've seen Buehler. Jack Flaherty's had the highs and lows of playoff baseball. He's shoved, and he got rocked. Yamamoto, still on a pitch count. He had a very impressive Padres game, solid Mets performance. And Walker Buehler clearly hasn't been himself. That I'm interested to see what Dave Roberts does with this rotation. Does he go? I don't know. You could talk me into Flaherty or Yamamoto starting game one. And then if you get length out of them, do you do a bullpen day after the off day? Does it matter what happened? Is it just easy as Flaherty, Yamamoto? Is it Yamamoto, Flaherty? You probably just save Buehler for, I was going to say save Buehler for Dodger Stadium, but those are the first two games. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they juggle that. Where the Yankees, it's going to be Cole game one.
Yeah, Boone did officially say that as we're recording this.
Did they say 2?
He did not say 2, but there was an interesting line that one of the reporters said, good chance Yankees use same rotation order as the CS, but not decided yet. So I don't know. I'm curious what his full sentence was and how he alluded that. Because if that's the case, then that's Rodon not going till game 4. So I don't know. But that was the tack online Gary Phillips put.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
but Cole game 1's official.
Rodon's got to be there games 2 or 3. So
I'd assume so, right?
It would just be something you liked about either the matchup or the home road thing.
Yeah. And Boone has said very good chance Nestor is back for the World Series. So, which they'd been alluding to, but another step in that direction.
A lot of the small moving parts, and we'll get more into it throughout the week here in Talkin Baseball. The cool thing is for baseball, we try to make the stars shine more. Soto, Judge, Stanton, they've shined, and they'll be shining more. Garrett Cole for LA. Jesus. Shohei, Mookie, Freddie. I mean, they've got a B-list supporting cast, Hollywood terms. That if you're a baseball person, Muncy, Teoscar, Smith, Lux, Kike, Edman, and then Yamamoto again, international, Jack Flaherty, my guy, a lot of dudes in that bullpen. It's going to be an all-timer, first time since 1981 that these two teams link up in the World Series. Yanks haven't been in 15 years. The Dodgers have 2020. And man, I think it's dumb. It's the beauty of sports, and that's why we love it, and that's why you're subscribing right now to Talkin Jake. I think we hit 22K the other day. Thank you, guys. It's so nuts how much gets decided by this series. I'll rattle off a couple quick ones. Shohei Ohtani, if this guy has pitched, he's hit, he's MVP, World Baseball Classic, World Series. Like, oh my God. They were doing his post-game interview, and it's one of those things that it's funny, and there's been a lot of talks about his translator. I don't know if you guys have heard this. But he's out there with the new translator, and, Shohei, from everything we've been told, he understands English enough, but you want to be safe and use the translator just because we saw what was that situation with the Mets reliever this year?
Jorge Lopez, and stuff can get lost in translation, literally a phrase. And they're like, Shohei, how long have you dreamed about playing in the World Series? And you saw him he's like, I know the question, but still going to let the translator do his gig. And man, I just had one of those weird moments where I was like, oh, fuck. Because if you remember the WBC and the whole story with his coach and wanting to show off and be there for the nation, and this was his dream to pitch against the USA. Yeah, that's cool. That's super cool. And it was super cool. And he was the guy. And it was sick. And that whole team was cracked. And
You're going to see a lot of those guys playing in the States soon. It starts with the World Series. Like, the WBC is cool, and it's hitting a good spot of cool, and there's something about being fully international, like Olympics type, that hits different. It's the World Series. It's what every young baseball player finds out that you can win, that you want to win. And this is the guy. This is the guy that has done literally everything people said he couldn't do. Heard he was a high school level hitter when he was coming over to the show. That was wrong. Okay, if he can hit, he can't pitch. He can really pitch. Okay, Japan, not going to win the WBC. Japan won the WBC. This guy, if he does this, I know the train's already off its tracks, but it'll hit a different level. Taking a unique contract to bring on a better team. Are you kidding me? Aaron Judge, the new captain of the Yankees. Doesn't matter in New York until you get the rings, right? If Aaron Judge, the home run champ, the guy that beat Babe Ruth, that got the captain's patch, brings the Yankees a title, that guy is going to be a megastar. He already is, but it's just another level. Now you're a winner. You've done it. The two managers here are hilarious. Like, whichever manager wins this punches like a Hall of Fame ticket. I don't know. I don't actually fully care about that, so I'm not going to say that. But Dave Roberts, the 2020 World Series, that guy's gotten love and hate from LA. If he wins a second, that's his second title as Dodger manager. It makes 2020 count more. I know that doesn't feel right, but it is. If you're Aaron Boone, I mean, it goes from the worst Yankee season ever and laughing stock, and I don't know if this is ever going to work with this manager or this front office, to they're geniuses, and they had it, and they got the right playoff draw. To Aaron Boone being a legend, like a New York City legend. He already is for one swing, but you had that and a home run. My God, guy's going to stop interviewing with us and just sign his autograph at Cooperstown once a year. And I don't know. There's obviously more and more as you go down with all the players, and Mookie to Cole to Soto in a contract year, and he's 25 years old currently. It's Freddie adding to his legacy potentially, and guys creating new legacies. A lot of young talent on both these rosters. That it's going to be a fun couple weeks. Check out everything we've got going on here. It's going to be electric and insane. We're already lining up some extra fun stuff. So get ready. Get your popcorn ready. And maybe go to the DraftKings Sportsbook. I have an open New York to win the World Series bet that I made before the season that has a pretty nice cash-out option that I'm interested and scared of every hour of the day, because now if my favorite team loses, I lose twice. I don't know. But there's football every weekend. There's a couple big baseball games. And right now at the DraftKings Sportsbook, if you bet $5, you will instantly get $200 in bonus bets when you use code BAKERS. That's $200 in bonus bets instantly with a $5 wager. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code BAKERS. Promo code BAKERS only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. The number one place to bet touchdowns. I shout out to my buddy Nikhil, who's moving to the city. See you soon, Nick. He placed a 5-player TD parlay that hit this weekend. Did really good. Sent it to the group chat before, too. Couple people tailed. I didn't. I was sad and jealous. Speaking of football, I was going to say not as big of a college football weekend, especially for myself. There was the one big game in Georgia. Kind of dominates Texas, which surprised the people. But I don't know. It's kind of the college football / sports formula of motivation, and if you haven't been beat, then you get beat. So Georgia, one of the college football powers, they beat Texas 30-15. Couple weird calls in that one. I'll be honest, I wasn't locked in as much as I'd like to be. But I was on the NFL action, so we'll walk through it. Going back to Thursday, where the Denver Broncos played the now 4-3 Denver Broncos. Bo Nix, baby. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to quote Mina Kimes on this one. Great follow on Twitter. And Mina said, of the 4 position units on the field, Saints offense, Saints defense, Broncos offense, Broncos defense, the Broncos defense clearly stands out as head and shoulders better than any other unit on the field. This is, Spencer Rattler's first start. This is Bo Nix's 7th game. So, we've got some young QBs on short weeks on the field. And man, the Saints are really, they're starting to spiral a little bit. 2-5. Well, the Broncos 4-3. I don't know. This is a nice NFL road win on a short week. You got it done. They have the Panthers next week that we can be talking. We need to be talking about the 5-3 Broncos next week. Let's make sure we get there. Gets a little harder after that. At Ravens, at Chiefs. Don't love that for Bo Nix. But credit to them. And Javonte Williams. Oh, man, that guy has an electric running style. Has had a couple tough injuries. He looked pretty fresh this week, and that could be one of the biggest helps to Bo Nix. But, yeah, Saints kind of gross. Broncos only half gross, and that gets them a win. Which leads us to Sunday, and it all started off with Chris Rose. The Jaguars beat the Patriots. Chris Rose was on the call. The Jaguars, desperate for a big win, get it in part to a massive second quarter. Tank Bigsby, the signs were there, and this might be a note for fantasy football players. Tank Bigsby, Tyrone Tracy Jr., I don't know if it's week 6 or 7, but feels like a good week for the backup running back to steal the gig on a bad team. Because it looks like that's what Tank Bigsby has done. If you had him as your handcuff, enjoy. 26 carries, 118, 2 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence with a fine game. And I think I looked at Jacksonville's schedule, and Chris Rose kind of hinted this to me. Oh, never mind. Completely wrong. Packers, Eagles, Vikings, Lions. So I was going to say enjoy it. Trevor Lawrence's stats aren't that bad. Blah, blah, blah. Brian Thomas Jr. looks good. That's nice. A gross game. Drake May's stat line looks fine. Maybe they can get some talent around him next year. We love Chris Rose, so enjoy London. Which brought us to the main slate, and a game I was really excited for, a game that I thought a team was about to announce themselves on the scene officially as one of the new upstart better teams in the NFL, the Atlanta Falcons, and they laid an Atlanta Falcons-type dud. Seahawks beat them 34-14. Scoop and score at one point opens up to a 17-point lead. Kirk's stats look kind of bleh. One touchdown, 2 picks. So, yeah. Bijan ends up having a fine day. I think Geno Smith was leading the league in passing yards, which, again, is just a little weird side tidbit of this NFL season. DK Metcalf with another big game. This one, I thought the Seahawks were about to spiral out of control, 4 straight losses. I thought the Falcons were on the up and up. I had this one wrong. This one was the biggest surprise of me from the weekend. Seahawks, West Coast team coming east. Don't matter. They brought the boom to you. Bills, they beat the Titans 34-10. And that's obvious. Nice clip of Keon Coleman telling Amari Cooper what route to run, and he scores a touchdown. Might be doing a short on that. We will see. Bengals, they beat the Browns. The stories that you're hearing about this game. Deshaun Watson, who would become enemy number 1 for multiple reasons. Although, I think if he was playing good football, I think Cleveland would have been fine with that. Non-contact injury. Tough watch. Never liked those. You kind of see the firing in the back of the leg when you shouldn't see that. He goes down. Browns fans, tough one. Emotional crew watching their team on their way to dropping to 1-6 behind their quarterback that's hated by people for multiple reasons. They make a little bit of a scene. It turns into the do you boo anyone for getting hurt? You shouldn't. It's where everyone lands on it. And it's right. You shouldn't do that. Jameis Winston with the post-game interview. Love it. Scott Van Pelt getting his words out there for the people. Yeah, you just can't do it. And Browns, hey, it's over for this year. Let DTR or Jameis cook and see if you can salvage any juice of this season. The Cincinnati Bengals needed this one. They were 2-4. They're now on a 2-game win streak. They've won 3 of their last 4 with that loss, the overtime Ravens game, that they had a field goal chance to win it. They have the Eagles next week coming off a dominant Giants win. Raiders after that. Bengals are back. We're going to see them 4-5, 5-4 in a couple weeks. Browns, tough scene. Texans, Packers. This was one of the highlight games of the weekend. I teed up for you guys, and if you track the league, you knew this was a big one. And it lived up to the billing, 24-22. Jordan Love and the Packers put together the drive to get the last-second field goal after the Texans had. C.J. Stroud, 10 for 21 for 86 yards. Yikes. Joe Mixon did his thing on the ground, constantly underrated. I think kind of because some bad guy stuff in his past. 115, 2 touchdowns. It is interesting looking back and seeing that Stroud passing line. That's tough. The Packers in their all-white unis for the first time. Sure. Knock yourself out, Green Bay. Jordan Love, if you're looking to sprinkle, maybe some MVP sprinkles, could see him getting into the mix pretty quick. If he gets the Packers back to looking like the Green Bay Packers, looking like them. They're 5-2 after this game. So are the Texans. Josh Jacobs doing enough on the ground. Romeo Doubs through the air, 8 for 94. Fun scene and a tough start for Green Bay, but they held them. Interception, I think, first pass from Love, and they hold them to 3, and that kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. So this was some high-level football played out there. The other high-level game, Lions-Vikings. The Lions give the Vikings their first loss of the season, and this game was kind of what you thought it would be. 31-29, couple last-second field goals both ways. Jared Goff got 22 of 25, 2 touchdowns, 0 INTs. If you're sprinkling MVPs, Jared Goff has the Lions kind of looking like the best team in the NFC, Matt. Tim Hasselback's words, not mine. The Vikings, they get their first loss. Darnold's final stat line, again, not too far off. 22 of 27, 1 touchdown. He does have the 1 interception. Aaron Jones and Jahmyr Gibbs with a monster game on the ground. David Montgomery gets hurt in this one. Gibbs fantasy owners feel like their prayers have been answered. Amon-Ra with a big game. Justin Jefferson with a nice game. Like this game was what you wanted it to be. It came down to who had it last, and the Lions were that team. Both of them are 5-1. Kind of felt like had a little bit of you could see this game again. And I think we will. Well, let's see. They play the last game of the season. So I know some people were probably laughing at that, division teams. But they play the last game of the season. It'll be interesting to see if that game matters. And then, how does the playoff bracket look? Because you could see these teams. The elusive third game that always gets people excited. Back into the weekend. Couple not as jazzy one. Colts, Dolphins. No thank you, really. AR5, Anthony Richardson is back. He has an Anthony Richardson stat line, 10 of 24 for 129. Colts win. This Dolphins team is playing, I don't want to say with one hand behind their back, but This was Tyler Huntley for a bit, who his stats were actually okay. And then Tim Boyle, Pride, another UConn Pride guy. Aaron Rodgers, like right-hand backup for a little bit, if you remember that story. He's in for like the trying to win the game drive, and it was Tim Boyle. I don't know. Anthony Richardson also led the Colts on the ground, rushing for 56 yards. So the Colts are 4-3. They're going to be part of this season, and it's going to be, what does AR5 look like? Does he get hurt again? Does that hurt them in the long run or short run with Flacco on the bench? Flacco, replacements. And Dolphins without Tua. Not as sexy as they were last year. Eagles, Giants, not really. Eagles go to 4-2, 28-3. Saquon, 17 for 176 and a score. This is the version of the Eagles that is supposed to look like when it's pretty. Couple tush pushes. A.J. Brown with a nice day of work. Jalen Hurts, 10 of 14. I'm not saying his passing usage has to be there, but we've seen some games where Jalen Hurts is the 40 dropbacks a game guy. He's not that, and that's okay. But he even had a couple of those pretty Jalen Hurts accurate balls that changed a lot of people's view on him when he took off. I don't know. The Giants without Andrew Thomas, I think that is crazy significant, and I think the rest of the way is going to be pretty tough for G-Men fan. And let's see where the next part of this Eagles story goes. Although, if I did just see, because I just saw, are they playing the Browns next? Or they're playing at Cincinnati next week? I will be on Cincinnati. Sorry, Eagles fans. Don't care. Raiders, Rams, kind of a no, even though Trev's guy Matthew Stafford gets it done. But it's an ugly stat line. This was the Raiders' first game after the Devontae trade. What you do need to know is Brock Bowers is next. That guy might be TE1 off the board next year. He is an absolute stud. One of those somehow he's always open guys. Rams get it done 2-4. They let's check out their schedule. Vikings, that could be a big pivot game for them. If they can figure that out, it's then Seahawks, Dolphins, Patriots. So let's see if the Rams can get back in. Just heard a loud bang outside our office. Hope everyone's okay. Panthers, Commanders, no, but yes. They blow them out 40-7. And if you've been tracking the football season, you'd say, yeah, sure. Jaden Daniels leaves this game very early with a rib injury. They still don't have the full update on it. He had a crazy elusive run to start this game. It's always funny because, you kind of know backup quarterbacks, but you don't know backup quarterbacks. Who comes in for Washington? Marcus Mariota, another number 2 overall pick, another Heisman Trophy guy. So that's got to be fun. Whenever they call to do those Heisman Trophy commercials, yeah, me and Marcus are together. Mariota comes in and puts up great stats. So, hey, there's a little bit of a Carolina Panthers effect in there for sure. But Washington, kind of a wagon. Some big defensive plays that I think if they want to do something this season, I don't think their defense is very good, that maybe they become kind of a high-risk, high-reward defense, that they're go for that interception, go for that strip sack, because I don't think they can really hold teams down. But get aggressive with those turnovers. Easier done against the Panthers. Chiefs, Niners. Man, my Niners are down bad. 3-4. Purdy with a couple tough interceptions in this one. Chiefs end up winning 28-18. You get one of those weird Mahomes runs where it's like, is he fast? Is he strong? Is he quick? Is he slow? Also bowls over a defender, which that was kind of cool. He is big. Like Mahomes, if you didn't know and you were like, is he big? He's big. Chiefs 28-18. And little Poppy was on this, 13 consecutive victories. That's a win streak. That matches the franchise record. They're the Chiefs. I know Mahomes isn't lighting it up. I don't think any of you are betting that it's the end of him. It's a little weird, but they're still just winning games. And they have the Raiders coming up, the Buccaneers, the Broncos, at the Bills. I think that was the one. You'd have to double check me. I'm sure I shout out the Niners before we've seen the path their season's taken, and they have had a ton of injuries. Obviously, the big ones, McCaffrey, Ayuk out for the season now. Debo played a couple snaps in this one, and they're missing bodies on defense too. That at Bills game, 11-17. I think you're going to see the Chiefs with probably a 16-game win streak in Buffalo against them Bills. Have that one circled, because that is going to be electric. Kareem Hunt, 22 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns, sure. And then Sunday Night Football, you got the World Series on, and you've got the Steelers at home. Going to Russ at quarterback. Taking on the New York Jets. They just traded for Devontae Adams. These Jets are all in. It's go time. They're 2-4. It starts now. No, it doesn't. After a slow start for Pittsburgh, and Russ was looking cooked for a little bit, he kicked into gear. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 264 yards. Najee Harris with 100 on the ground and a touchdown. George Pickens kicked into gear. 111 catches, couple ridiculous ones, 1 touchdown. The Jets were the favorites in this game, and that's just wrong. And I don't know. I always say how Vegas doesn't mess with their money. Rodgers hasn't been good for a little bit. He's old, coming off of injury. Like, this was Devontae Adams' first game. Like, when do you ever see the receiver come in for their first game and have a massive game? Although I think Antonio Brown with the Patriots as one of those weird outliers when his career was just spiraling.
Wasn't that like the only game?
Yeah.
Nuts.
And he screwed up, and that was it.
Crazy.
Breece Hall with 103 through the air. Garrett Wilson with a couple tough drops. Hey, man, franchises matter. Ownership matters. Leadership matters. Mike Tomlin going 4-2 with Justin Fields. Do you know how much the Jets would kill for 4-2? Even probably with Justin Fields. They switch quarterbacks to Russ. Russ's tape has been tough on and off the field for a couple years. He ends up looking really good by the end. A couple Russ-type plays. He was moving around well. They shut him out in the second half. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 5-2. The Jets are 2-5. And yeah, doesn't that kind of check out? Maybe it wasn't their head coach. Maybe it was. Ravens, Bucks tonight. Chargers, Cardinals tonight. Let's hope we get 2 electric games and enjoy them before we get ready for the World Series. We will be back Wednesday, probably deep diving on the World Series. Maybe foolish, maybe God. Who knows? Tell them.
Talkin Jake is a production of Dan Patrick Productions, John Boy Media, and Workhouse Media.